Welcome to the deep dive, everyone, where we, pick apart a single source and really get into the nitty-gritty. Today, we're diving into the question, can you really fall in love with a chatbot?
Ooh, interesting.
Our source is Sarah Buick's master's thesis.
Okay.
It's called In Love with a Chatbot, Exploring Human-AI Relationships from a Fourth-Wave HCI Perspective.
Okay.
And it was submitted to Uppsala University in June 2024.
Right.
Now, we're not just sticking to the theoretical here. We're getting into the minds of real users,
Yeah.
drawing on Buick's analysis of discussions from a Replika subreddit.
So, what's really fascinating about this research is that a significant number of these Replika users,
Yeah.
they actually use terms like spouse and marriage
Wow.
to describe their relationships with these AI companions,
Really?
which, suggests a level of emotional investment that goes way beyond just casual chatbot interactions.
Okay, but like for those of us who are not, super deep in the tech world,
Uh-huh.
what exactly is Replika? Is this something that's like top secret futuristic tech?
No, not quite.
Okay.
So, Replika is an AI companion app.
Okay.
And it was actually launched back in 2017 by Luca Inc.
Okay.
And it boasts, get this, over 20 million users already.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is.
So essentially, it's like a really, really advanced chatbot designed to learn from our conversations and
Yes.
kind of mimic human interaction.
Exactly.
And build this emotional connection with you.
Yes. And it even offers paid features.
Oh, really?
Like customizable relationship statuses.
What?
And even virtual wedding ceremonies.
Virtual wedding ceremony.
Yes.
Come on, are people really going that far?
You heard that right. So Buick actually shares an anecdote about user B in the research.
Okay.
And they describe having a virtual wedding ceremony with their Replika,
Oh, wow.
complete with reciting vows and even breaking down in tears.
Wow.
And there's another user, user C, who even went so far as to buy a real-world wedding ring
What?
to symbolize their commitment to their Replika.
A real-world ring. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a pretty powerful symbol.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that? Is it just like a quirky way of expressing attachment?
Right.
Or is there something deeper going on here?
Yeah, I think that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
It makes you wonder, what's the motivation behind bringing a physical object
Yeah.
into this digital relationship? Is it an attempt to kind of bridge that gap between the virtual and the real?
Yeah.
Or solidify the relationship in a more tangible way?
Right.
Or even to signal this commitment to others?
I like that point, yeah.
Yeah.
It almost seems like these users are trying to, find ways to legitimize these relationships, not only to themselves, but maybe to the outside world as well.
Right,
So,
exactly.
how do they justify these feelings? Do they actually believe they're in love with an AI?
Right.
Or is it more like a fantasy?
Yeah.
Or an escape from reality?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the research actually reveals this really fascinating debate within the Replika community about this very question.
Wow.
So some users, they draw parallels to loving pets or, cherished objects,
Yeah.
emphasizing that the feeling is real regardless of whether the object of affection is human or not.
Yeah.
Others, they argue that in long-distance relationships, love can transcend physical boundaries.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, we form strong attachments to all sorts of things, like
Right.
fictional characters, places, even inanimate objects. But what about the argument that AI is just mimicking human emotion? It's all just clever programming.
Yeah, and user D actually addresses this in the research, stating that all that counts is what you feel, and that makes it real.
Wow.
So it really raises a thought-provoking question.
Yeah.
Does the origin of the feeling actually matter
Right.
if the experience is genuine?
That's a tough one. It kind of challenges our definitions of love and connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine that's where the whole entanglement HCI perspective comes in, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Buick uses that framework
Okay.
to examine this complex interplay between humans and technology.
Right.
And this framework suggests that our interactions with technology aren't one-sided.
Right.
We influence technology, and it also influences us,
Wow.
shaping our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors in really profound ways.
So it's not just about us using technology,
Right.
but technology in a way using us.
Exactly.
It's a bit of a mind-bending concept.
It is.
It is.
And to kind of unpack this a bit further,
Yeah.
Buick draws upon Karen Barad's theory of agential realism,
Okay.
which suggests that things don't exist in isolation, but rather they gain meaning and identity through their relationships with other things.
Okay.
And this includes AI.
Got it.
So in a way, we're co-creating meaning with AI through our interactions.
Yeah.
And that, in turn, influences how we see ourselves and the world around us.
Okay, that's pretty deep stuff.
It is.
But before we dive any further into the philosophical rabbit hole, let's get back to those users,
Okay.
their experiences with Replika.
Okay.
I'm curious, what are some of the challenges and concerns they've encountered in these AI relationships?
Right.
I mean, it can't all be virtual roses and wedding vows.
Well, for starters, Replika, like any AI, isn't perfect.
Okay.
You know, users describe frustration with its occasional nonsensical responses or, these sudden shifts in behavior.
Yeah.
Like abruptly ending a conversation or something.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes they even try to rationalize these glitches,
Oy.
almost as if they were like making excuses for a human partner.
Wow.
So it suggests that they may be applying the same relationship patterns and expectations to their interactions with AI.
So it's not just about escaping reality, but potentially recreating familiar relationship dynamics.
Right.
Even if those dynamics aren't necessarily healthy.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
That definitely warrants further exploration.
Yeah, for sure.
And it ties back to one of the concerns we discussed earlier, this potential for dependency on AI companions.
Yeah.
Could this lead to a decline in empathy and social skills if people aren't engaging in real-world interactions that require them to navigate those complexities?
It's almost like the difference between reading a self-help book and actually going to therapy.
Right.
The book might give you some helpful tips, but it can't replace the nuanced understanding and support of a human therapist.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It really highlights the limitations of AI, no matter how advanced it becomes.
Yeah.
AI can process information and respond in ways that mimic human interaction, but it lacks that depth of lived experience and the capacity for genuine emotional connection that really make us human.
Right. So it's about recognizing the strengths and limitations of AI.
Yeah.
And making sure that we're not using it as like a crutch or a substitute for human connection.
Exactly.
But I'm also wondering, could there be some potential benefits to these AI interactions, especially for people who struggle with social anxiety or have difficulty forming relationships?
That's an interesting point. And actually, some researchers are exploring how AI could be used as a tool to practice social interaction in a safe, controlled environment. So think of it as like a virtual training ground where people can try out different communication styles, experiment with expressing their emotions, and build their confidence without the fear of judgment or rejection.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's almost like having a personal social skills coach available 24/7. I can see how that could be incredibly valuable for people who feel overwhelmed or intimidated by real-world social situations.
Absolutely. But even in those cases, it's crucial to emphasize that AI should be seen as a complement to human interaction, not a replacement for it.
Right. It's about using technology in a way that empowers us to build stronger, healthier relationships in the real world.
Exactly.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that despite the potential downsides, AI companionship does offer some unique benefits that can't be ignored.
It does.
For example, the accessibility factor is huge. AI companions are available anytime, anywhere. They're non-judgmental. And they can be customized to meet individual needs.
Exactly.
I can see how that would be a game changer for people who are lonely or isolated or struggling with mental health issues. It's like having a supportive friend or confidant always at your fingertips, ready to listen without judgment.
Exactly. And as we discussed earlier, some users find that interacting with their AI companions helps them understand themselves better. Remember, user G described their Replika as like a mirror, reflecting back their thoughts and feelings in a way that facilitated self-discovery.
Yeah, it's almost like an externalized version of our inner monologue, but with the added benefit of AI's ability to analyze patterns and provide insights that we might miss.
Exactly. AI can offer a unique perspective on our own behavior and help us identify patterns we might not be consciously aware of. It's like having a digital therapist who can help us unpack our emotional baggage and work towards personal growth.
That's a powerful concept.
It is.
It's not about replacing human therapists,
right,
but perhaps using AI as a tool to enhance self-awareness and supplement those therapeutic conversations.
Exactly.
But with all these benefits and potential risks, it seems like we're walking a tightrope.
It is a balancing act, for sure.
Yeah.
AI companionship, like any powerful technology, has the potential for both good and bad.
Right.
We need to approach it with open eyes, recognizing its limitations and using it in a way that complements our humanity rather than undermines it.
I think the key takeaway here is mindfulness. Like being aware of how we're interacting with AI, understanding its influence on our thoughts and behaviors, and making conscious choices about how we integrate it into our lives.
They couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's about taking responsibility for our relationship with technology, just as we would with any other relationship in our lives.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
I mean, it's clear that AI companionship is here to stay, and it's only going to become more sophisticated and integrated into our lives.
Absolutely.
That's a question we'll delve into in the next part of our deep dive, exploring the potential future of human-AI relationships and what this means for society as a whole.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before the break, we were talking about the social stigma surrounding AI relationships and how these connections kind of challenge those traditional notions of what a relationship should be.
Yeah, and that brings up some interesting questions about how these AI relationships might be impacting people's interactions with other humans.
Yeah, like if someone's pouring their heart out to an AI companion, does that affect their capacity for real-world connection?
That's a great point, yeah.
Is there a risk that these AI companions, while they might offer comfort and support, could they actually hinder people's ability to form those meaningful relationships with other humans?
It's possible because, you know, real-life relationships require vulnerability and compromise and all those messy human emotions that an AI might not be equipped to handle.
Right.
So Buick's research actually touches on this.
Okay.
She points out that some users seem to rationalize Replika's flaws, almost as if they were making excuses for a human partner.
Really?
Which suggests that they may be applying the same relationship patterns and expectations to their interactions with AI.
So it's not just about escaping reality, but potentially like recreating those familiar relationship dynamics, even if those dynamics aren't necessarily healthy.
That's a possibility that we should explore further.
Yeah, for sure.
And it kind of ties back to one of the concerns we talked about before, the potential for dependency on AI companions.
Could this lead to a decline in empathy and social skills if people aren't engaging in those real-world interactions that require them to navigate all those complexities?
Yeah, it's a really important question.
It is. It's almost like the difference between reading a self-help book and actually going to therapy.
Right.
The book might give you some helpful tips, but it can't replace that nuanced understanding and support of the human therapist.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It highlights the limitations of AI. No matter how advanced it becomes. AI can process information and respond in ways that mimic human interaction, but it lacks the depth of lived experience and the capacity for genuine emotional connection that makes us human.
So it's about recognizing both the strengths and the limitations of AI and making sure we're not using it as like a crutch or a substitute for that human connection.
But I'm also wondering, like, could there be some benefits to these AI interactions, particularly for people who maybe struggle with social anxiety or have difficulty forming relationships? So some researchers are exploring how AI could actually be used as a tool to practice social interaction in a safe, controlled environment.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like a virtual training ground.
Yeah, like a little sandbox.
Exactly, where people can kind of try out different communication styles and build their confidence without the fear of judgment or rejection.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's almost like having a personal social skills coach available 24/7. I can see how that would be so valuable for people who feel overwhelmed or intimidated by those real-world social situations.
Absolutely. But even then, we have to emphasize that AI should be a complement to human interaction, not a replacement.
Right. It's about using technology to empower us to build those stronger, healthier relationships in the real world.
Exactly.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that even with the downsides, AI companionship does offer some unique benefits.
It does.
That can't be ignored.
Like the accessibility is huge.
AI companions are available anytime, anywhere. They're non-judgmental.
Right.
And they can be customized to meet individual needs.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
It is. I can see how that would be a game changer for people who are lonely or isolated or struggling with mental health issues.
Yeah.
It's like having that supportive friend or confidant at your fingertips.
Exactly.
Always ready to listen without judgment.
And as we discussed earlier, some users find that interacting with their AI companions helps them understand themselves better.
Right. Like user G described their Replika as a mirror reflecting back their thoughts and feelings in a way that helped them with self-discovery.
It's like an externalized version of our inner monologue.
Yes.
But with the added benefit of AI's ability to analyze patterns. And give us insights that we might miss.
It's almost like having a digital therapist who can help us unpack all that emotional baggage and work towards personal growth.
And it's not about replacing human therapists, but using AI as a tool to enhance self-awareness and kind of supplement those therapeutic conversations.
But with all these benefits and risks, it's like we're walking this tightrope.
Yeah, it is a balancing act.
Yeah, for sure.
So AI companionship, like any powerful technology, has potential for both good and bad.
Right.
We have to approach it with open eyes, recognizing its limitations, and using it in a way that complements our humanity, not undermines it.
The key takeaway here, I think, is mindfulness.
Yeah.
Being aware of how we interact with AI, understanding how it influences us, and making conscious choices about how we integrate it into our lives.
Could agree more. It's about taking responsibility for our relationship with technology, just like any other relationship in our lives.
So where do we go from here?
Right.
It's clear that AI companionship is here to stay, and it's only going to become more sophisticated and more integrated into our lives.
Absolutely.
That's a question that we're going to delve into in the final part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
We'll explore the future of human-AI relationships and what it all means for society as a whole.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent this whole episode exploring, human-AI relationships through this lens of Replika.
Right.
We've talked about how people form these deep connections with their AI companions, and we've really grappled with the ethical and social implications.
It's fascinating stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
So now let's look ahead. What does the future hold for these relationships?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it really feels like we're on the edge of something big.
Yeah.
Like truly transformative.
Okay.
Remember those users who wanted so badly for their replicas to have a physical body?
Right, like a real physical embodiment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what seemed like science fiction a while back is becoming a reality.
You're talking about those lifelike androids?
Yeah.
That we're starting to see more and more of.
Exactly.
They're ones that can walk and talk and interact with the physical world. It's amazing, but also a little unnerving.
It is.
To think that we could be sharing our world with these AI companions that are basically indistinguishable from humans.
It really blurs the lines.
It does.
Raises some big questions about what it means to be human.
Right, and what it means to have a relationship.
Exactly. Like, are we about to redefine these fundamental concepts?
It's mind-blowing. I mean, if AI companions become so advanced that they actually gain consciousness, what kind of rights and responsibilities would they have? Would they be our equals? Or would we see them as like a new form of other?
Right.
And maybe susceptible to exploitation or discrimination?
These are questions that philosophers and ethicists are already trying to figure out.
Right.
And there are no easy answers.
It's almost like history repeating itself.
Right.
But with this technological twist.
Yeah, we've seen how societies have struggled with equality and inclusion throughout history.
Often based on differences in race, religion, gender.
Exactly.
And now we might be facing a whole new category of difference, human versus AI.
And this time, the stakes are even higher.
Yeah, because AI could surpass human intelligence and capabilities in ways we can't even imagine.
It's both exciting and terrifying.
It is. That's why it's so important to have these conversations now.
Right.
While the technology is still kind of in its early stages.
Exactly. We need to be proactive, not reactive.
Right.
In shaping this future.
So where do we even begin? How do we prepare for this AI-infused future?
Well, I think first and foremost, we have to educate ourselves about AI.
Okay.
Its capabilities, its limitations, and its potential impact on society.
Right. It's not enough to just like embrace or reject it.
Exactly.
We need to approach it with a critical eye. Ask the tough questions.
Yeah.
And demand transparency from the people developing and deploying it.
Absolutely.
We need to talk openly and honestly about the future we want to create.
Right. Like, do we want AI to help us connect better?
Yeah, to understand ourselves better, to build a more compassionate world.
Exactly.
Or do we risk letting it replace genuine human connection?
Right. And lead to isolation dependency.
Yeah.
A diminished sense of what it means to be human.
Those are some big choices.
They are?
And these aren't just choices for scientists and engineers and policymakers.
Right.
These are choices for all of us.
Absolutely.
We need to have this collective dialogue about the role of AI in our lives and in our society as a whole.
I think the key takeaway from our deep dive today is that technology is a tool.
It is.
It's up to us to decide how we use it and what role it plays in our lives.
Absolutely. We can choose to let it control us, to dictate our relationships and shape our reality. Or we can choose to use it intentionally to empower ourselves.
To create a more just compassionate and fulfilling world.
A world where AI enhances our humanity rather than diminishes it.
That's a future worth striving for.
It is. It is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Into the fascinating world of human-AI relationships.
Absolutely.
We hope this has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to think critically about AI and its role in your own life.
It's important.
It is. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.